Hi folks, in this video I will solve a BI challenge making the full use of Pentaho. Pentaho is a BI software suite that provides everything you need to build a complete BI solution. For this demo, what you need to know is that Pentaho offers you a data integration tool called PDI, all-up services in form of an all-up server called Mondrian, and an all-up viewer called Analyzer, and dashboard capabilities with Pentaho Dashboard Designer. So, what I want to build is a football dashboard where I can select what leagues I want to consider. And I want to build a line chart with the shot accuracy of these leagues throughout the seasons. Moreover, when I click on a particular data point, I want to populate the league table with the season and the league of that data point. For instance, let's imagine I click on Premier League, and if I click on Premier League, it will show this line on the line chart with a shot accuracy of the Premier League teams throughout the seasons. And if I click on this data point, it will populate this league table with the season value that in this point is 2017-2018 and the league which is the Premier League. The first step to build this BI solution is to design the data warehouse. Since we are using Mondrian and since it's a role app, we need a relational database that follows a star schema. This means that we will have one fact table at the center referencing multiple dimensions. And the fact table also holds measures that are quantity values that can be categorized by dimensions attributes. For instance, in our domain, we have a fact table called soccer fact that references four dimensions: the date dimension, the team dimension, the opponent dimension, and the league dimension. And then Soccer Facts holds a set of measures. For instance, team shots can be subcategorized by a given date and a given team. Now that we have designed our data warehouse, using MySQL Workbench, I wrote this SQL script to build our database. I can run that script, and if we refresh the schemas, you will see our data warehouse. Nonetheless, for now, the tables are empty. So this means we need to look for data to populate our tables. In datahub.io, you can find a bunch of CSV files with really nice data. So this is one example of those CSV files. This is from Premier League season 2018 and 2019. And as you can see here, there are a lot of fields. But of course, not all fields are relevant for us. But there is a table with the meaningful fields and the underlying descriptions. In the end, you will have a set of folders, one for each league, and a set of CSV files inside these folders representing the seasons. For instance, you can see here that I have a La Liga folder, a Premier League folder, and a Serie A folder. And for instance, inside the Premier League folder, you see a set of CSV files, each one representing a given season. I also have this leaks CSV file at the top that basically does the mapping between the div codes and the leaks. Now that we have the raw data we need, we can parse that data using PDI, our data integration tool, so we can store it in our data warehouse. I built this job to read the CSV files and store the games in our database accordingly. Let's see how I read the CSV files. Here I read EPL, Serie A and La Liga games separately because they aren't exactly the same. For instance, the EPL CSV files are the only ones that have a field called referee. If we see, for instance, Serie A, we don't have a referee field here, so they need to be parsed on different ways. But after that, I can pick all relevant fields using the select value step. And then I can append the rows, so at the end I have all matches. Finally, I am using the copy rows to send the resulting rows to the next transformation.
Now that we have loaded the data, we need to transform the raw data to the appropriate format so we can write it on our data warehouse. This transformation is a little bit more complex, but you can see here that we have three tracks, and on this one I am building and storing the date dimension. So the first thing I do is I use the calculator step, and using the date field I am extracting the day, the month, and the year of that date. And then using the file name, I am extracting the season value. And at the end, after me having the season, year, month, and day, I am able to store it on the date dimension table. After that, I want to store the other three dimensions, so league, team, and opponent. The first thing I need to do is to use the stream lookup step to know what country and league that match belongs to based on the div code. After that, I can pick the fields I need, so country, league, and the team will be the home team since I am storing the home games, and the opponent will be the away team. Now that I have all the data I need, I can simply store the data on the dimension table. So in the league dimension, in the team dimension, and in the opponent dimension. After building the dimensions, we need to build the fact table rows. First, we need to build the measures. To calculate the won, drawn, lost fields, we have to subtract the full-time home goals with the full-time away goals. And if the result is more than 0, it means that is a win. If it's less than 0, it means that is a loss. And if it equals 0, it means that is a draw. Then we need to merge the measures with the dimension table IDs we've stored previously. And by then you can simply store that data on the fact table and we are ready to go. Now we have stored the home games, but we haven't stored the away games yet. The transformation to store the away games is very similar, just have small differences. For instance, now instead of storing data on the dimension table, I am simply looking for the ID because the data is already there, because previously we already parsed whole games. And in the measures, instead of subtracting the home goals with the away goals, I am subtracting the away goals with the home goals because now the team is the away team and the opponent is the home team. By now we are ready to execute our job, so let's populate our data warehouse. Now that we run our job, we can see that we already have data in our data warehouse. For instance, let's see the league dimension. So now we have three leagues, Premier League, Serie A, and La Liga. Now that we already have our data warehouse filled with data, we can go to Pentaho User Console. And the first thing we will do here is register our database connection. I already registered my JDBC connection here, soccer data, but this is very obvious to understand. So here I am telling that I have a MySQL database type and I am accessing to it via JDBC, and then I have normal things like hostname, database name, port, and the credentials. We also have here a test button that you can click to see if you define your database correctly. So after defining the JDBC connection, you will need to create a data source that will be the one who will feed our OAuth viewer. Let's call this also soccer data, and the source type will be a database table that will be the one we have defined previously. And I am saying that this data source will be used both for reporting and analysis purposes. And if I want to use this for analysis purposes, this will need to follow the star schema that we've talked about. Then I need to specify what tables do I need to use. And actually in this case I need all of them. And I will also need to specify which one is my fact table, that is the soccer fact. Then I need to specify how can I join the fact table with the dimension tables. For instance, I can click here on the date ID field of the soccer fact table, and I can join it with the ID of the date team table. And then I can do the same thing for the other dimensions. Now we can finish. We already built our data source, but now we need to customize the logical model of our OLAP. You can edit the logical model of your OLAP by dragging the table attributes of your data warehouse to this part. And this is very easy to read. Here you have measures and dimensions. Inside measures you can see here team shots on target, won, drawn and lost. For instance, then you can edit your measures. You can see here that team shots, the aggregation default is sum, but there are other functions. For instance, if you wanted to see the game where a certain team made the most shots, you could use the maximum function. Then you have four dimensions: time, league, team, and opponent. And for instance, in the time dimension, you can see the levels we are expecting: season, year, month, and day. Now let's build the line chart. And for that I am building an analysis report. And I have to select the data source I want to use. That is that one we have just created. We can say we want to view our chart as a line chart. And then our x-axis should be the season, and we want to break this line chart by the league name, and then our measure should be the shot accuracy. But as you can see, we don't have a shot accuracy measure, but that isn't a problem because we can create the so-called calculated measures. A calculated measure allows you to build a new measure given the existing measures and a given formula. Let's call this shot accuracy, and shot accuracy should be a percentage value, and I don't want decimal places for that. And a shot accuracy is simply the team shots on target divided by the total of shots the team made. And now we have the shot accuracy measure. So we can drag shot accuracy to the measures. And now we have the line chart we want. And we will also need a filter for this, for the dashboarding purposes that you will understand later. So I'm calling this field league, and I'm saying that I want whole leagues by default. Now that we already have our line chart, let's build the league table. So on rows we want the team name, and on columns we want the season. And before adding the measure fields, I will want to have here a season filter, otherwise there will be too much data. Let's call this filter season, and I will say to filter by the season 2017-2018. And I will also make a league filter. Let's call it league again. And I will say that by default I want Premier League. And now we are ready to add the measures to the table. So let's add won, drawn, and lost. And I also want a total points field, but as you can see, there isn't a measure like that. Therefore, we will need to build a new calculated measure. Let's call it total points. And this will be a general number, and I don't want decimal places also. And to calculate the points, for the ones who know, a win values 3 points, and a draw values just a point. So it's 3 times won games plus the drawn games. And now we are ready to add the total points field to the table. Another good thing to do here is to sort the total points from high to low. And now you have a beautiful league table. Now that we have created our charts with Analyzer, we can create a new dashboard with Pentaho Dashboard Designer. So we will say that we want a template with 2 columns because we want the charts to be side by side. And then I select the folder that has the charts we've built, and I can drag the shot accuracy by league season to the first position, and I can also drag the league table to the second position. Now I want to build a prompt so I can choose the leagues I want to show in the line chart. Let's build a prompt called leagues, and I want to that proper to be with buttons horizontally, and I want to allow multiple selections. To know the values of that prompt, I will use a SQL query against my soccer data database, and the query will be select league name from league dim. So in this query, I will get all the leagues I have, so Premier League, Serie A, and La Liga. And now I can bind the filter that we've created for the line chart with the value of the prompt. This way, when I click on new values in the prompt, new lines will appear. For instance, if I click on La Liga, it will appear the shot accuracy of La Liga. Let's call the line chart like shot accuracy followed by the leagues we've selected. But when I click on a data point of the line chart, I want to update the league table. To do that, I need to use the content linking functionality. So I will link season and league name. Now that we've linked the parameters of the shot accuracy line chart, we can define the parameter values of the league table from the shot accuracy line chart. Let's call the league table like this: league table season. Finally, let's call this dashboard soccer dashboard. now we can say we have conquered this BI challenge. You can see here a dashboard called Soccer Dashboard that has a prompt where you can select multiple leagues, and by selecting it, you can update the line chart. And if you double click on a data point of this line chart, it will update the league table. Then you can sort the points from high to low, and you see that on for Serie A season 2015-2016, Juventus was the first one. How surprising was that? And Napoli was the second one. This pretty much ends my video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, and I will also leave my LinkedIn profile. Bye!